This delay in your life was never random. Archangel Michael blocked the final blow. But he won't intervene again if you keep ignoring his warnings. Open this right now. The hourglass is not broken. It has only been flipped by the hand of the Almighty. Let the listener understand this from the depths of their spirit. This delay in your life was never random. No, this waiting, this agonizing pause, this stillness that stretches across your calendar like a void, it is not punishment. It is placement. It is alignment. It is divine orchestration by the one who sees the full map when all you can see is the closed road before you. This is not chaos. This is a holding pattern of heaven. And there is one reason you are still standing in the tension. Archangel Michael stepped in. He stood in the invisible realm, where swords are unseen and battles are bloody in the spirit. And he blocked a blow that would have taken you out. Not just emotionally, not just mentally, but spiritually dismantled you. What came against you would have twisted your path so far off course, you would have never recognized your own future. But he intervened. And now you've been spared for a moment. But listen closely. He will not intervene again if you keep ignoring the warnings. This is not a message for the masses. This is not a word for the lukewarm. This is a call into the deep for those who have felt the frustration, the delay, the repeated shutdowns. This word is for those who have groaned in their sleep, tossing and turning, not because of nightmares, but because their spirit knows something is off in the timeline. If you're wondering why the promotion hasn't come, why the relationship shattered before it started, why the door seemed to open and slam in the same moment, it was never rejection. It was redirection. You were paused by heaven because the enemy's snare was waiting behind what looked like your breakthrough. And so Michael drew his sword, and God commanded, "Hold them back until it is safe to proceed." But now the delay is nearing its limit. Heaven is watching for your obedience, because the next blow will not be blocked if you dismiss this word again. If you ignore the stillness you were commanded to step into. If you keep rushing what God is trying to shield you from. This is the final caution before the next release. So hear this. The silence you feel is not abandonment. It is the quiet of a divine courtroom preparing a ruling. The delay is not the enemy's victory. It's the evidence of heaven's mercy. But you must answer now with stillness. You must obey. You must choose not to resist the divine pause. Type "I will wait" on God in the comments if you receive this message. Blessing code 777 is being sealed upon your timeline. Archangel Michael stands at the gate once more. Sword drawn. Flame in his eyes. Wings casting shadows over every plan of the enemy. He has not stepped away yet, but the urgency in the spirit is deafening. The countdown has begun, and before the next dawn breaks, before the sun touches your window again, your spirit will either align or drift into disobedience. This is not a general call. This is not a casual moment. This is heaven issuing a final invocation to the chosen ones, those marked, those pursued, those who have cried out, "Why is nothing moving?" It is for those who have shouted into the silence and felt nothing reply, and yet, deep inside, sensed something was always watching. Something was always standing between them and the collapse. That something was Michael. He'd intercepted the ambush in the midnight hour, when betrayal stirred in the hearts of those closest to you, when gossip formed like poison behind your back, when deals were cut in shadows and your name was written in schemes. Archangel Michael unsheathed his sword and said, "Not this one." And so you were delayed. You didn't miss it. You were rescued from it. And the reason your body felt exhausted, and your mind felt like it was unraveling, and your relationship suddenly cracked for no reason, is because something broke in the unseen. Something was severed, and the rupture was not yours. It was the plot that was assigned against you. But now the realm is shifting again. The shield that covered you before cannot be assumed will cover you again. Not if the warnings go ignored. Not if the divine instructions are dismissed. Not if the same disobedience is repeated. You must feel this burning in your chest if you are truly chosen. There is no way to hear this word and not feel your entire spirit ignite. Not everyone will understand, but those who are marked by heaven will feel this like fire in their bones. It will keep them awake tonight. It will haunt their memory. It will grip their chest until they say yes to obedience again. We have someone listening to this with 1 second away from collapse. One more emotional hit, one more disappointment, one more betrayal, and you would have unraveled. Would heaven intervene? But Michael stood. But mercy said no. And now you're here. And you must not miss the reason. The delay was divine. The pause was holy. The stillness was required. But listen, this silence, this season, this moment, it's on a timer. A window is closing. Heaven is watching. The angel assigned to you waits for the next command, and that command will not be given without your response. You must align. You must submit. You must hear this word as the warning it truly is. This is the whisper of God wrapped in thunder. He is not shouting anymore. He's whispering, and only those close enough will hear it. The delay has always been a rescue, not a punishment. The danger wasn't what you saw, it was what you didn't. That's where Michael stood. In the invisible. In the silence. In the delay. And now the heavens wait to see what you will do next. Will you obey, or will you move too quickly? Will you stand still, or will you provoke another battle that should have been avoided? This is your moment. This is your decision. This is the crossroad between the next protection and the next pain. And the warrior angel is watching. Type "I hear" and obey in the comments if this fire is for you. Blessing code 888 is now charged over your obedience. You weren't delayed by accident. You were targeted in secret. There are some things too heavy to say plainly. There are mysteries that cannot be shouted, only whispered into the soul. This is one of them. You wonder why you've been stuck. Why the door that was wide open suddenly slammed shut. Why the people who once cheered for you now speak in silence. Why every time you're on the edge of breakthrough, something crumbles, a delay, a disruption, a disturbance that no one can see coming, but it always finds you. It's not random. It's not random because you were marked. And the moment you were marked by heaven, you were noticed by hell. You were delayed because the enemy needed time to strategize. Not because you were weak, but because you were too close to something powerful, too close to purpose, too close to inheritance, too close to rising in ways you don't even comprehend yet. And what you felt in the natural, that unsettling, that confusion, that exhaustion, was not you failing, it was heaven restraining what was meant to strike you in full force. Behind the delay was a plot, and deeply buried, carefully orchestrated assignment. Not from strangers, but from those you never suspected. You felt it, didn't you? The whisper behind your back that shifted the way people looked at you. The coldness in someone's tone who once celebrated your wins. The strange silence after you shared your dream with them. The delay didn't start when the door closed. It started when jealousy entered the room. Someone did not want you to rise. Someone watched your joy and disguised envy as fake encouragement. And while you praised God for the open door, they poisoned it behind your back. That's why it suddenly shut. That's why everything froze. That's why heaven halted your steps. Because if you had walked through that door, you would have walked into a trap, not a triumph. This is more than betrayal. This was sabotage. And heaven saw what you didn't. Michael stepped in not just to block the strike, but to disrupt the entire sabotage structure. He disrupted your calendar. He disrupted your plans. He disrupted your timeline, because the moment you walked in ignorance, you became vulnerable. And now everything feels confusing. Why the delay? Why this inner storm? Why do you feel like something is wrong even when nothing seems to be? Because your spirit is detecting what your mind can't yet interpret. Because your emotions are echoing what heaven has already judged. And here is the truth. If the delay had not come, your soul would have been hijacked. That relationship that looked divine was actually a setup. That opportunity that looked like provision was a counterfeit. That invitation that flattered you was bait. But you've been spared. Now, the disruption in your emotions, the anxiety in your belly, the feeling that you're spinning and still going nowhere, it's not because you're broken. It's because you were divinely rerouted. You were preserved. You were protected. You were pulled back before they could strike. And yes, it's hard. It's hard when God's rescue looks like rejection. It's hard when His yes sounds like silence. It's hard when His protection feels like punishment. But this is the mystery of heaven's mercy. It often comes in the form of frustrated plans. And this time, Michael stood between you and fatal disappointment. Your delay was your deliverance. Type "I receive my deliverance" in the comments if this message found your spirit. Lesson code 4411 is now surrounding you. If this message ignited something in your spirit, if you felt the veil lift and recognized that what you called delay was actually divine intervention, then help us ignite this fire in others. You're our souls right now standing in the same sabotage you just escaped. When you support this prophetic mission, you are sowing seeds into the soil of deliverance, into the timelines of the chosen. Michael blocked the blow for you. Now help this message reach the next soul he's about to defend. Let your giving be like oil, poured into the fire of awakening. God says in Luke 6:38, "Give, and it shall be given unto you." This is not a verse to be quoted, but a portal to be opened. I'm asking you right now, be part of this deliverance. So where heaven is speaking, you can give through YouTube Super Thanks membership, or by planting directly through PayPal. The link is in the video description below. This is not just support. This is obedience. This is warfare. This is holy. Be a vessel. Be a voice. Be a shield for another. Give now, and watch the reversal begin in your own timeline. They didn't attack you because you were weak. They attacked because you were chosen. There is a war behind your delay. There is a conflict behind your confusion. There is a battle behind your silence. This is not merely about timing, it's about targeting. You were marked, not for destruction, but for destiny, and the moment heaven authorized your assignment, hell activated its resistance. You see, they didn't attack you because you were fragile. They didn't isolate you because you were insignificant. They didn't scheme against you because you were irrelevant. No, they came for you because you were rising. You were coming into alignment. You were beginning to see with clarity. You were beginning to move with purpose. You were stepping out of the cycle, out of the shadow, out of the smallness that once held you back. And the kingdom of darkness cannot allow that. So the conflict began, but not where you could see it. It began in the spirit. The moment your yes reached heaven, the enemy responded with a counterfeit timeline, a mirrored path meant to seduce you out of alignment. But Archangel Michael, heaven's commander, the enforcer of divine order, intervened before you crossed the threshold. That's why everything suddenly stopped. That's why the plans fell apart. That's why people turned. That's why the opportunity crumbled. Heaven stepped in and said, "Not this way." And here's the truth many don't want to face. This battle has nothing to do with what you've done wrong, and everything to do with who you are becoming. The enemy doesn't waste resources on the unthreatening. He doesn't stalk the lukewarm. He doesn't launch campaigns against the casual. And no, he hunts the ones who carry weight in the spirit. He fears those who are waking up. He fears those who begin to ask the right questions. He fears those who no longer respond to manipulation, who no longer chase applause, who no longer settle for surface-level faith. And you are one of them. The conflict is spiritual. The attack was precise. And the delay was not denial, it was deflection. God routed you. God removed access. God canceled meetings and appointments you never knew were traps. You cried over the closed doors, but heaven was celebrating because the rejection was your rescue. There is a record in heaven of every attempt made against you. Nothing has gone unseen. Every tongue that rose against you is being weighed. Every plot, every word curse, every silent betrayal has been documented. And this is why stillness hath been required. Because when God is preparing judgment, he silences the one he's defending. He tells them, "Stand still." What? Do not speak. Let me move. And for many listening to this message, you've been in that divine silence. It hasn't just been loneliness. It's been divine strategy. God has hidden you like a weapon being sharpened in secret. He has covered you like a blueprint being finalized in silence. And now he's about to release you. But only if you don't sabotage the silence with noise. Because stillness is your safety. Obedience is your armor. And yes, your name has been spoken in rooms where you weren't present. Your character has been questioned. Your calling has been mocked. But do not respond. Do not retaliate. Heaven is recording. Justice is in motion. The scales are being balanced. This war is not about your past, it's about your future. You are standing in the middle of a spiritual collision. And Michael is not just protecting you, he's enforcing the will of God concerning you. But even he can't shield disobedience. Even he must stand back when the chosen one rejects the instruction. So hear this, you are still here, not because the attack failed, but because heaven blocked it. But this protection must be honored. It must be followed by reverence, by surrender, by stillness. You were not overlooked, you were overshadowed. You were not delayed by failure, you were paused by fire. And now, the next move is not yours, it's God's. But he's watching to see what your response will be. Type "I choose stillness" in the comments if you hear this word in your spirit. Blessing code 9111 is now resting upon your house. Within 72 hours they will move again. Will you be found aligned or exposed? The delay was mercy. The silence was strategy. The stillness was survival. But make no mistake, the enemy has not stopped moving. The ones who tried once have already begun regrouping. The adversaries in the shadows, the ones who watched you rise and whispered curses into the wind, have been tracking your delay like wolves watching a wounded deer. They misread your stillness as weakness. They assumed the delay broke you. They assumed your silence meant surrender. But what they failed to understand is that the hand of God was the one who halted your forward movement, not their resistance. But now the moment is shifting. In the spirit realm, something has been stirred again. The enemy is reassembling, and within the next 72 hours, their plan will attempt to press forward. A new wave of pressure will rise, emotional, spiritual, relational. It will come subtly, silently, almost softly. Not with chaos, but with the kind of quiet confusion that makes you question your discernment. This is the next level of the assignment, and unless you are postured in obedience and divine stillness, you will mistake their camouflage for comfort. Listen. This is the moment where many fall. This is the point where the chosen are tested beyond the surface. Because the second wave of attack is rarely loud. It's quiet, seductive, manipulative. It will come in the form of familiar voices but with foreign tones. It will come through people who once brought you peace, now wrapped in strange distance. You'll feel it in conversations that seem off. You'll notice eyes that look away too quickly. You'll sense a pull toward something that feels rushed, reckless, or reactive. This is not imagination. It's a spiritual signature, the presence of opposition wearing the skin of normality. And the trap is not always external. Sometimes, the second strike is internal. Doubt, weariness, a sudden urge to give up everything you were waiting for, to lash out, to prove something that no longer needs proving. The enemy cannot destroy what God protects, but if he can provoke you out of position, the protection becomes void. That's why this next season requires silence. That's why heaven is saying again, don't speak, don't move, don't assume. Wait. You must understand, this delay was the first wall of defense. But it is not permanent. You were bought time, but not indefinitely. Archangel Michael blocked the final blow because heaven saw the fullness of the scheme. But if you resist instruction, if you violate the conditions of your protection, if you move ahead of heaven, you remove yourself from the covering. This is the holy warning. The next 72 hours are not casual. You must be alert. You must be sensitive. You must resist the temptation to speak when you were told to be silent. You must resist the desire to explain yourself to people whose hearts have already been turned. You must resist the need to defend what God has already vindicated. Because right now, heaven is watching the next move. Not theirs. Yours. They are regrouping. But what will you do? They are preparing to launch again. But will you stay hidden in the shelter of obedience, or will you walk into the battlefield with your emotions exposed? This is a divine caution, not because you are failing, but because you are standing at the border of breakthrough. And this time, the enemy will not strike with noise. He will strike with nuance. You will notice it in their patterns. You will feel it in your chest. The Spirit will whisper it before your mind can explain it. Trust that voice. Because when the pressure rises again, your positioning will determine whether the blow is blocked or absorbed. Michael is still stationed. Heaven is still watching. But protection is not guaranteed by status. It's secured by surrender. Don't lose your place now. Don't waste your delay. Don't silence the warnings. This is the part of the battle where many lose their crown, by speaking too soon, by moving too fast, by trusting too easily. You've come too far. Stay behind the veil. Type "I will not move" without God in the comments if this warning echoes in your spirit. Blessing code 5566 is now activated over your alignment. Be silent, for silence is your shield. Obedience is your weapon in this next stretch of your life. Your survival will not come from reaction. It will come from restraint. What is about to unfold in the realm around you, both seen and unseen, is not meant to be fought with words, arguments, or force. The instructions are not complicated, but they are critical. Be silent. Be still. Be watchful. You've spoken enough. You've explained enough. You've tried to defend your heart, justify your delay, interpret your wilderness. But now, heaven says stop. The noise must cease. Not because you've lost your voice, but because silence is now your strategy. Silence is not weakness. Silence is wisdom. Silence does not mean passive. Silence means you have shifted your trust from man to the throne of God. Hear this clearly. When Archangel Michael was dispatched to block the final blow, he did not come to support your flesh. He came to enforce divine order, and that order requires your surrender. Stillness is no longer optional. It is a requirement. Heaven will only continue shielding what is submitted. Heaven will only fight for what refuses to fight in the flesh. Right now, many of you are standing in the middle of spiritual interference. There's pressure to respond. There's temptation to correct, confront, explain. You want to speak up about what was said behind your back. You want to expose what was done in secret. You want to defend what they've tried to destroy. But hear the voice of the Lord roaring in restraint. Be silent, for silence is your shield. The battle is shifting dimensions. The warfare is not in the natural. It's not in conversations, meetings, or social posts. It's happening in the spirit. And heaven only engages on behalf of the still. You want to know the strategy. It's not complicated. You don't need another 5-step formula. You don't need another prophecy about promotion. What you need is to pull back and go inward. You need to make your inner chamber your command center. You need to withdraw, not as a victim, but as a weapon being hidden in the arsenal of God. This is not the season to be everywhere. This is not the season to speak to everyone. This is not the time to prove your anointing. This is the hour of hiding, hiding in God, hiding in prayer, hiding in consecration. Those who try to stay visible in this hour will become vulnerable. Those who fight in public what was meant to be won in the spirit will fall under unnecessary warfare. You want protection. It's not found in your performance. It's found in your positioning. Withdraw. Watch. Wait. Pray, not just with words but with your posture. Fast, not just from food but from attention, validation, and noise. Protect your gate. Guard your eyes, your ears, your heart. You are being kept for something greater. You are being preserved for something heavier. You are being shielded because your name is about to be connected to a divine assignment that requires your full obedience. But if you break position now, if you let pride pull you out, if you let pain provoke you to speak, you may survive, but you'll miss your assignment. And this is what the enemy wants. He knows he can't stop your call, so he wants you to forfeit your covering. Don't let him succeed. Right now, Michael is not swinging wildly. He's standing with precision. He's guarding. He's watching. He's waiting for the next signal. And that signal comes from your obedience. The blow that was meant for you was blocked once. But the next line of defense is no longer angelic. It's you. It's your stillness. It's your posture. It's your decision to do nothing in the natural while everything in the spirit shifts in your favor. And hear this final word in this moment. No weapon formed against you will prosper, but only if you stop picking up weapons that God never told you to use. Lay down your defense. Lay down your voice. Let the wind of heaven carry this battle. Stay low. Stay silent. Stay hidden. Because protection is still available, but only for the obedient. Type "I choose obedience over reaction" in the comments if this word sealed your strategy. Blessing code 7722 is now activated over your household. You are not who they think you are anymore. You were refined in the delay. Something changed in the delay. Not just around you, within you. What they tried to bury has taken root. What they walked away from has multiplied in secret. What they dismissed as weakness was really the cocoon of your becoming. This delay was never random. It wasn't punishment. It wasn't rejection. It was the construction zone of your elevation. A delay wasn't meant to kill you. It was meant to strip you of the false and dress you in the divine. And now, as the smoke begins to clear, something sacred is being revealed. You are no longer who they left behind. Let this word settle in your spirit. You are not who they believe you are anymore. You don't think the same. You don't react the same. You don't desire the same. The storm changed you. The pause purified you. The warfare matured you. While they thought you were wasting time, heaven was rewiring your identity. While they thought you were shrinking, you were being summoned. While they laughed at your delay, the heavens carved a throne from your ashes. Because yes, you were buried, but not in death. You were buried in timing. Like a seed hidden underground, unseen but swelling with life, you were never forgotten. You were being activated beneath the surface. And now, the shaking you feel isn't an attack. It's the cracking of the shell. It's the sound of breakthrough. It's the moment when hidden warriors rise from stillness and step into power. This is your rise. This is your moment of becoming. The pain you endured was never wasted. It was sacred. Every tear was a deposit. Every betrayal was a redirection. Every disappointment was heaven's hand pulling you closer to divine alignment. And now comes the fire. Not the fire of destruction, but the fire of transformation. Your wings are unfolding. Your spirit is rising. The old version of you has no place in this next dimension. You are walking out of the fog and into the flame. The ashes of who you were have fallen at your feet, but your crown is rising above your head. You were never meant to live in the confusion of delay. That was temporary. That was surgery. That was the breaking before the building. But now, the blueprint is complete. The structure is sound. And the time has come to emerge, not as the same, but as sanctified by the waiting. And this is where you begin to speak again, not in reaction, but in revelation. Because now your words carry weight. Now your voice has been tempered by silence. You don't speak to defend anymore. You speak to decree. You don't move to be seen anymore. You move to shift atmospheres. You don't chase validation anymore, because heaven already validated your assignment. You are no longer a victim of the delay. You are a warrior of the waiting. And you are dangerous now, not because you shout, but because you know when to stay silent. Not because you fight everything, but because you fight only what heaven authorizes. So wear your scars like armor. Let the fire on your life burn hotter than their gossip. Let the oil on your name speak louder than their silence. They underestimated what the delay would produce, and now you are walking proof that what doesn't move you matures you. This isn't just survival. This is resurrection. You've come out of the cocoon. You've broken through the limitation. You are stepping into your next level of authority. And this authority didn't come cheap. It was paid for in midnight tears. It was earned in silent warfare. It was sealed in obedience when no one was watching. So now, walk in it. Own it. Carry it with fire. Because they don't know who you are anymore. But heaven does. And the earth is about to find out. Type "I am rising in authority" in the comments if this word awakens something in you. Blessing code 2020 is now burning bright upon your calling. This delay was divine protection. You would not have survived that blow. The truth must be spoken now, not as comfort, but as clarity. You weren't just delayed, you were delivered. Not from small inconvenience, not from minor setbacks. You were delivered from a blow that would have destroyed you if heaven hadn't stepped in. This is the moment when heaven peels back the veil, just enough for your spirit to see what your eyes were never meant to witness. Because had you seen the strike that was coming, had you seen the venom wrapped in what looked like favor, had you seen the destruction behind the door that looked like destiny, you would have never questioned the delay. Let it be known now, Archangel Michael stood in your place. Not metaphorically, not symbolically, literally. When the enemy gathered their final assault, when they sharpened words and schemes and lined them up to pierce your purpose, it was Michael who stepped between you and what was meant to take you out. He stood in the fire so you could walk away unburned. He blocked the ambush that would have dismantled your soul. And the delay you felt, the pause that broke your momentum, that was the aftershock of a battle you never saw but completely survived. Yes, you would have walked into something too heavy. Yes, you would have tied yourself to someone whose presence was poisoned. Yes, you were about to cross a threshold that looked like opportunity, but smelled like sabotage in the spirit. And so heaven, in mercy and might, slammed it shut. Not to frustrate you, to preserve you. And here's what you need to understand. This is your unlocking. This delay was not punishment for disobedience. It was protection from destruction. This pause was not rejection. It was redirection. Heaven did not hold you back to punish your progress. It held you back to save your purpose. And now that the threat has passed, now that the spiritual plot has been dismantled, the unlocking begins. This is a prophetic moment. The chains are falling. The fog is clearing. The gates are opening. But you must know this truth deep in your spirit. You are only still here because God said no. Not everyone got spared like you. Not everyone was pulled out of the path of that strike. Not everyone bowed a second delay. You were chosen not just for calling but for covering. Your name was whispered in heaven, not just with purpose but with protection. Your destiny was defended by angelic command. Your timeline was adjusted by divine override. And now heaven says, step forward but step wisely. You have passed through delay and fire and frustration, and now you're standing at a threshold. But hear me. This time, it's not a trap. This time, it's not dissection. This time, it's not bait. This time, it's the real door. You've been recalibrated, refined, restrained until the right hour. And now, you are stepping into divine timing, the exact moment heaven had planned all along. So go forward, not in fear, not in haste, but in fire. Step into the next level with the awareness that you were preserved for purpose. The delay wasn't punishment, it was precision. And now the release begins. Heaven waited for this hour. Hell feared you'd survive long enough to reach it. But you made it. And now your name is echoing in the spirit realm, not as a victim of delay but as a vessel of victory. Type "I have been unlocked by heaven" in the comments if you hear this prophetic revelation. Blessing code 3141 is now sealing your next chapter. If this revelation struck something deep within you, if you now realize that heaven blocked what would have broken you, then don't let this moment pass silently. You're not just a listener. You're part of this movement. This isn't about supporting a channel. It's about supporting the continued release of heaven's voice into the digital wilderness. When you sow into this message, you're sowing into divine protection for others. You're helping this word reach the next soul who's seconds away from stepping into a counterfeit. Your giving becomes oil. Your support becomes light. Your obedience becomes someone else's delay from destruction. The heavens are open over this ministry, and when you give, you step into that same atmosphere. Give, and it will be given unto you. Luke 6:38 isn't a quote. It's a declaration being fulfilled in real time. So respond now, not with obligation, but with holy urgency. Support this prophetic work through YouTube Super Thanks, membership, or by giving through PayPal. The link is in the video description below. This is sacred ground. Sow into it. Seal your unlocking. Watch what heaven opens next. Heaven waits for your yes. The delay was training for the command. You've passed through delay. You've endured the silence. You survived the hidden war that tried to suffocate your future. But survival was never the end goal. Activation is. And now, the realm of heaven leans in, listening not for your explanation but for your yes. This is not the time for hesitation. This is the time for holy alignment. Because while Archangel Michael blocked the final blow, while heaven routed your steps, while divine protection surrounded your sleep, the next move has been placed back into your hands. Not to control the outcome, but to choose your position. Because the next level doesn't come through effort, it comes through alignment. And alignment always begins with a decision, a declaration, a surrender that repositions your soul under the authority of heaven's command. You were delayed to be trained. You were silenced to be strengthened. You were hidden to be honed. And now, you are being summoned. But hear this, your destiny will not activate by accident. Heaven has done its part. Now heaven waits for your yes. Not a shallow yes. Not a panicked yes. But a yes forged in fire. Yes that has survived the silence, endured the delay, obeyed when there were no signs, and stood still when the world screamed move. There is a throne being prepared, not a throne of arrogance or ego, but of assignment and authority. And it is shaped in the mold of your obedience. A delay with heaven making sure your spirit could carry the weight of what is coming. Because this next release is not just about you, it's about generations. It's about those who will be healed by your yes. It's about the curses that will break when you choose not to repeat the dysfunction. It's about the bloodline that shifts the moment you say, God, whatever it costs, I obey. And don't think heaven is looking for perfection. It's looking for posture. Don't think you need to feel strong. You just need to be surrendered. Because the secret is this: alignment activates acceleration. The moment your heart says yes, truly, deeply, with no bargaining, no delay, the heavens move. The timelines align. The doors swing open. The strategies of God begin to deploy in your favor. What you couldn't break through in 10 years, God will unlock in 10 days if your yes is complete. This is not motivational. This is prophetic. This is your burning bush moment. This is your "Here I am, Lord, send me." And I know part of you still wants answers. You want details. You want control. But in this hour, control is the greatest enemy of activation. Your destiny does not require understanding. It requires obedience. The kind of obedience that moves in the dark, that trusts through the unknown, that walks with trembling feet but steady faith. This is how destinies are unlocked. Not with clarity, but with surrender. So speak it now. Declare it now. Say it aloud, even through your fear. God, I say yes. Because that yes, that alignment, that submission, it's the key that unlocks what's been waiting for you. And the enemy knows it. That's why the attack came when it did. That's why the strike was timed to hit just as you were getting ready to move. Because your yes is dangerous. Your obedience is a wrecking ball to darkness. Your surrender shifts atmospheres. The devil didn't fear your potential. He feared your agreement with heaven. But now you're ready. You've been refined. You've been processed. You've been protected. And now, you must move. Not in haste, but in authority. Not in fear, but in fire. Not with questions, but with commitment. This is the hour. Heaven waits for your yes. Type my yes is complete in the comments if you're stepping into full alignment. Blessing code 1177 is unlocking divine acceleration over your life. While you slept, heaven moved. While you wept, records were sealed. There are moments when heaven moves in thunder, and there are moments when heaven moves in silence. This, right now, is one of those moments. You don't need to feel the shift to know it's happening. You don't need confirmation from man, applause from others, or visible signs to validate what's already begun. Because something sacred just happened in silence, in the quiet hours, in the realm where voices don't reach but tears are recorded. While you slept, while you wept, while you questioned why the delay was dragging on, heaven was transacting on your behalf. Not all victories come with noise. Some are sealed in whispers. Some are written in the ink of tears. Some are delivered in the stillness, when no one is watching. And you must know this now, in your stillness, something was returned. What was stolen from you, what was delayed, what was silenced, what was dishonored, heaven has recovered it. The enemy thought the delay would break your agreement with God. He thought the frustration would cause you to forfeit your faith. But while the world was watching for your reaction, God was watching your posture. And because you remained, because you obeyed, because you waited, there was a divine exchange made on your behalf. You didn't just survive delay. You earned access in the realm of the Spirit. There are places in God that only obedience unlocks, places where angels minister, where scrolls are opened, where justice is sealed, and that's where Michael stood for you. That's where your name was spoken. That's where your reward was recorded. This is why it all felt so heavy. This is why your spirit groaned even when your mouth stayed silent. You weren't just experiencing delay, you were part of a divine negotiation. Archangel Michael didn't just block a blow. He stood in the courts of heaven and defended the timeline of your destiny. He laid before the throne every accusation whispered against you. He presented your endurance, your sacrifice, your faithfulness. And the Father said, "Let what was delayed now be released." The scales were balanced. The verdict was rendered. And the transaction was complete. But because it was spiritual, your mind didn't recognize it. Not at first. But your spirit knew. That's why you've been restless. That's why you've been waking up at strange hours. That's why your dreams have been more vivid. That's why you felt emotional, even when nothing around you seemed different. Because your spirit already encountered what your mind is just now catching up to. The exchange was made. What was stolen is being returned. What was closed is being unlocked. What was silenced is being amplified. And you didn't even have to fight for it. You just had to stand still. This is what the enemy hates. He's fine with people who shout, who pretend power without posture. What he fears is a believer who knows how to stand silent and still in alignment. Because that kind of believer commands heaven's resources without saying a word. You are that kind. You are the one who stayed. The one who didn't flinch. The one who prayed even when you didn't feel anything. The one who trusted God's character when you didn't understand his methods. And because of that, heaven moved. Don't let the silence fool you. Don't let the lack of noise make you think nothing happened. What happened in the spirit was real. And now, the natural will begin to align with what was transacted in the invisible. Expect the shift. Expect the return. Expect the redemption. Because the delay is over, and the delivery has begun. Type "the exchange has been made" in the comments if your spirit bears witness. Lesson code 6677 is now releasing prophetic confirmation over your life. They thought they got away with it, but God has already balanced the scales. Let this be declared in heaven and echoed on earth. Justice is unfolding, even now. Not the justice of man, not the justice of systems, but the justice of the Almighty, the Judge who never slumbers, the King who weighs every intention, and the God who will not allow mockery to sit where mercy reigns. You thought it was over. You thought they moved on. You thought they would get away with the manipulation, the gaslighting, the betrayal, the hidden slander. They wounded you and then acted as if you had no right to feel the pain. They pulled away and then called you dramatic. They whispered behind your back and smiled in your face. And for a moment, for a long moment, it seemed like God was silent. But here is what your soul must know. God's silence is never his surrender. He saw it all. Every whisper, every lie, every room you weren't invited to, every place your name was slandered while your hands remained clean. Every time they misrepresented your heart, heaven took note. The delay wasn't just protection, it was collection. While you waited, God was gathering the evidence. While you stayed silent, God was watching who moved in darkness. And now, the scales are shifting. This is the hour of divine reversal. Yes, it will look like elevation for you, but for them, it will feel like exposure. Not because God desires to shame, but because he will not allow injustice to go unchecked. Those who touched what was anointed, knowingly or unknowingly, must now answer to the spiritual laws they violated. You were not just a person they crossed, you were a timeline they tampered with. And heaven is strict about timing. You didn't retaliate. You didn't take revenge. You obeyed. You stood still. And because of that, God will fight what you refuse to. Watch how it unfolds. The very places where you were blocked, you will now be brought in. The very voices that mock you will have no choice but to acknowledge your anointing. The very doors that were shut in your face will now swing wide open by divine command. What was delayed will come back with interest. What was held up will be returned double. This is not exaggeration. It is the divine law of restitution. They underestimated your silence. But they forgot that you were never silent out of weakness. You were silent out of surrender. And when heaven sees surrender, it releases justice. Justice is not just a word. Justice is a person, and his name is Jesus. He is your advocate. He is your redeemer. And he is now your vindication. He is not merely returning what was taken. He is reversing what was twisted. You will see favor where you once saw failure. You will see harvest where you once saw loss. You will see reconciliation where you once saw ruin. This is not a fairy tale. This is not emotional hype. This is a heavenly transaction, the turning of the tide, the lifting of the weight, the fulfillment of the promise. So don't be surprised when the reversal begins. Don't question it when you're suddenly invited to places that were once locked. Don't hesitate when opportunity comes back wearing a new face. Don't reject what looks too good to be true. It's not too good. It's just this. God is returning your name to the mouth of the righteous. He is removing it from the lips of the false. He is sealing your reputation in the halls of heaven and echoing it into the rooms of destiny. Your name has been cleared. Your assignment has been reactivated. And your path has been relit. This isn't just restoration. It's divine reversal. What came against you will now be turned in your favor. What they used to shame you will now shine on you. What was meant to break you is now beneath you, as a stepping stone into glory. Type "the scales have shifted for me" in the comments if you know divine justice has found your house. Blessing code 8844 is now reversing every curse against your destiny. You were shielded, you were seen, and now you are being sent. You've reached the end of this word, but not the end of your journey. If you've heard every section with an open heart, then you know this wasn't just another message. This was a divine dispatch, a direct transmission from the courts of heaven to the depths of your spirit. Let this be declared one last time with all authority. This delay in your life was never random. It was a wall of mercy, a canopy of grace, a shield forged by the sword of Archangel Michael. He did not just stand by you. He stood in front of you. He took the hit. He blocked the fatal strike. He intercepted what was meant to dismantle your soul. And you were covered not because you earned it, but because heaven chose you. But remember this truth, and remember it deeply. He blocked the blow once. He shielded you once. But the next move depends on you. God will not continue to rescue what refuses to submit. The same mercy that saved you now calls you to maturity. The same angel who guarded you now watches to see if you will walk forward in obedience or slip back into patterns that invited danger the first time. This is your final instruction. Rise. Obey. Advance. No more delay. No more hesitation. No more questioning what has already been confirmed. You've heard it. Your name is known in heaven. You survived what others did. You've been pulled from pits that were dug for your burial and rerouted into places of resurrection. And now, you are being sent. Sent with clarity. Sent with authority. Sent with the wind of divine protection behind you. Walk boldly now. You do not walk alone. You do not walk wounded. You walk commissioned. Let the weight of this moment sit in your spirit. You are sealed. You are seen. You are sent. And every place your foot touches next is holy. Every assignment ahead has already been cleared by fire. Every voice of confusion is being silenced. And every plan of the enemy has already failed because you obeyed. Heaven rejoices not because you were perfect, but because you returned, because you aligned, because you surrendered your timeline to the God who holds time in his hands. Now go. Move. Rise. Declare. Step in. Activate. You've been refined by delay, protected by angels, and now ignited by the voice of the Most High. This isn't the end. It's the beginning. You are not just restored, you are released. Type "I am sealed" and send in the comments if this word has crowned your spirit. Blessing code 9999 is now marking your footsteps with fire and favor. If you've made it to this moment, it means you are one of the ones who stayed, the ones who received, who aligned, who were sealed. And now, heaven calls you to not only walk this word, but help spread it. The message of restoration, of angelic protection, of divine reversal, it's not just for you. There are others out there caught in cycles of delay, walking blindly into traps heaven wants to rescue them from. When you give, you become part of that rescue. You become a messenger of God's voice to someone crying out for direction. Just like this word found you, it can find thousands more. So into this work. Don't just say amen. Put your faith into action. Let your giving become a seed that breaks open doors for others. Let your support be a flame that keeps this prophetic oil flowing. You can partner through YouTube Super Thanks, membership, or donate directly through PayPal. The link is in the video description. Don't leave this moment untouched. Give as you've been given to. And watch how heaven multiplies it back to you, not in numbers, but in divine timing and reward.